Good afternoon. My name is Lucy. Omar Mateen killed 49 people and wounded 53 when he opened fire at a nightclub in Orlando. The FBI had investigated him and labeled him not a threat. He got his guns legally. 4 years ago, Adam Lanza, 20 years old, shot his mother and then 26 people, mostly children, in Sandy Hook Elementary School in Connecticut. He had been treated for psychiatric ailments. He got his guns legally. These individuals were able to purchase a gun because the FBI did not conduct the proper background checks. According to the New York Times article, How Mass Murderers Got Their Guns, there are 16 mass shootings, 8 of which of the shooters had criminal histories and mental health issues. We were all saddened and shocked when we heard of these atrocities. Some of us sitting here might even own guns. Our Second Amendment changed in 2008 when the U.S. Supreme Court held that an individual has the right to bear arms or to possess a firearm in their home for self-defense. However, it does not stipulate that you have a right to carry any weapon whatsoever, in whatever manner whatsoever, and for whatever purpose. As you can see, these gentlemen took the law into their own hands. A background check would have eliminated them acquiring a gun. When I heard about the mass shootings in Orlando, I was shocked and quickly went into panic mode. You see, my cousin is gay, and he frequents that club. I was happy to hear that he was alive, but as I was also saddened because of the lives of lost. Then I started to ask myself, how can someone get hold of so much weaponry? This is why I chose this topic and did my research. The lapse with the compliance of the universal background checks, the availability of the gun, the private sale loophole, and state not adopting stringent guidelines have all contributed to these atrocities. Today we will see why these background checks have lapsed and the current loopholes exist, and why only some states have these guidelines. One of the reasons that there is a lapse in universal background checks is because they are not required by the federal law in their states. Prohibited persons, which are those individuals not allowed to purchase guns because of criminal history or mental issues, can obtain guns without even a record of the transaction. In a survey, 13 prison inmates who are prohibited persons, 96% of them were able to purchase guns due to no background checks. Of those that did the background checks, only 13 were able to purchase them. In our own state of North Carolina, the state does not require a background check, nor prohibits possession of assault weapons, and doesn't license or regulate dealers or limits the number of firearms one can own. The Coalition to Stop Gun Violence stated that the National Instant Criminal Background Check has prevented over 2 million convicted felons and other prohibited persons from purchasing firearms. When background checks are required, they keep the guns out of prohibited persons. Following the December 2012 Sandy Hook Elementary School massacre, there were numerous calls for universal background checks to close what is now referred to as the private sale loop. The most dangerous and biggest gap in federal firearm laws today is the private party gun show market loophole, which is the leading source of guns used in crimes. Sellers at gun shows are not required to run background checks on potential buyers, even those without a license or record. In 2013, 67,000 firearms were listed online for sale by private unlicensed sellers, which equates to about 40%. In 2013, our own state of North Carolina had the 21st highest number of gun deaths per capita. It ranked 20th in the highest of crime gun exports among the states, and ranked top 10 in interstate supply of gun crimes to Virginia and South Carolina. The internet also has allowed individuals prohibited from purchasing firearms by finding sellers who don't perform a background check. 29% of ads were posted by private sellers who posted 5 more ads over an 8-week period. The Bureau of Alcohol and Tobacco found that in a 29-month period, unlicensed sellers were involved in 1/5 of illegal trafficking of guns to Mexico. I talked about the availability. Now let's see how some of these states that don't have these guidelines or enough legislation for states to combat this abuse. Very few states are without stringent guidelines for universal background checks. Only 18 states, along with Washington, D.C., have extended background checks requirements. Only 18 states out of this whole United States. Only 8 of them have universal background checks at the point of sale of firearms. When private sellers don't run background checks, dangerous people can easily obtain guns, as you heard at the beginning of my speech. All these factors, lapses with non-compliance of universal backgrounds, the availability of guns, and states without strict restrictions can be mediated by us. It is up to us so that we can avoid further mass shootings. We have to demand it. Some of the solutions are requiring a universal background check for all states with a compulsory time frame of 3 to 4 weeks for investigation, along with a permit and registration. Those states with background checks have 48% less gun trafficking and 17% decrease in aggravated assaults and fewer deaths. They also talked about an approach to ensure sales of guns at gun shows or privately adhere to background checks at the point of transfer. States and local and tribal governments should enact laws requiring that all guns, sales and transfer, proceed with a federally licensed dealer. This would ensure that prohibited people are not buying the guns. They also talked about maintaining records of all gun sales and making these records available to law enforcement agencies for inspection by licensed and unlicensed sellers, for example, like multiple sales or theft. In January 2013, the New England Journal of Medicine found that 84% of gun owners and 74% of NRA members support universal background checks. There are those who say that the background checks is an invasion of privacy, but I am sure that the parents of these children who lost their life in Sandy Hook would differ with that. Although our various measures in place is needed, it needs for us to get involved. Us as Americans, as individuals, as mothers, fathers, children, to put pressure on our legislative and representative in all states so that we don't have any more Sandy Hooks or Columbine. Thank you.